Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Bozard Ford Studio. I got an exciting show today. On the show today, we have Dr. Todd Broder, lead you're a psychiatrist.
I'm a psychiatrist.
Yeah, it says psychologist here. I don't know who wrote
You're
this.
always demoted.
I don't know who wrote this. Psychiatrist at UF Health Flagler Hospital. By the way, that is hard for me to say.
It's a mouthful.
I've said Flagler Hospital for so long, so if I messed that up, I apologize. And also in studio with us, Lena Russell, psychiatric nurse practitioner, here in studio. And we're talking mental health. It is Mental Health Month, and we'll be talking about anxiety and to help people achieve a little bit of peace. And you guys are going to tell us the different strategies you have, because you have different strategies. And we got a lot more. We got some breaking news on the story that's happening in Guana. But first off, we got to pay some bills, and we got to talk about the amazing Bozard Ford. Since 1949, Bozard Ford Lincoln has been more than just a dealership. It's been trusted, family-owned part of a St. Augustine community for over 75 years. Founded by a U.S. Navy. You switched up the read on me, Blake? You're terrible. Why would you do that to me?
It was the same read yesterday.
U.S. Navy veteran Fred H. Bozard Jr. and Fred Bozard III. Their legacy of service continues today through unmatched customer care, award-winning facility, and deep community involvement. They are just amazing in this community. From 91 climate control service bays and our no appointment quick lane, Wi-Fi in the customer lounge, and the fantastic food and drinks at the Ford's Garage. Try the Jiffy Burger. Have you tried the Jiffy Burger?
The burger there is incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. Their experience is nationally recognized, customer service honored, the Triple Crown Award, President's Award, and more. Bozard Ford Lincoln is here to serve you with great pricing, great selection, and even better people. Bozard Ford Lincoln, they are driven to inspire. Also, big shout out to our other sponsors, Fidus Roofing, Old Town Trolley, Ben 39 Wine Bar, B&S Signs, Chiba Hut Toasted Subs, St. Augie's Pizza, Chris Lucero Bail Bonds, and St. Augustine Handy House. Support all our local sponsors with your likes, comments, and shares. Find us on YouTube and help us reach our 1,000 subscribers. On YouTube, that's one of our goals we got to try and get to, is at 1,000. We're at about 925 right now. So you guys can help us get there. You can support us by sending those Facebook stars. That helps Blake out. That's how I pay him. And we really appreciate it. And check us out on Rumble also. So, hey, Blake, how you doing back there after switching up my read for Ford? I practiced one, and this one's the one you sent me.
Hey,
tortured the dyslexic.
It was the same read as yesterday. You had it in front of you. It was the same read that Amanda spoke yesterday.
Yeah.
Don't blame me for all of a sudden now.
My dyslexia kicked in. So, how are you guys this morning?
Great. Beautiful morning. Happy to be here.
Yeah, appreciate you guys coming in. Yeah. All right, we're going to do question of the day. And Lena, you weren't here, so you don't have a heads up on what the question of the day is. You had stepped out for just a second. But our question of the day, and Blake, we're going to let you go first on this. Do you have a favorite pastry?
Yes, I think it's like, for me, I had to go croissant, unless if you consider a cinnamon roll as a pastry.
I think you got to consider a cinnamon roll a pastry.
All right, that's a quintessential pastry.
I think it's a pastry. I think without a doubt that's a pastry.
All right, then to go cinnamon roll then.
All right. Lena, do you have a favorite pastry? And Lena, we're going to ask you to slide a little forward, please. Sure. Don't be afraid of that microphone.
Sure. Well, I'm vegan, so kind of awkward when it comes to food. There's a lovely little place called Wild Rabbit Bistro in Ormond Beach, and they do some amazing vegan pastries. Okay. So, yeah.
So yours is more vegan. The location because of the way they prepare it than the actual pastry itself.
Yeah.
I feel unsatisfied with the answer. I still don't know what the favorite pastry is.
I try not to have favorites.
Entails.
Yeah. So, what about you?
I'm a croissant guy. If you can stuff it with chocolate, even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
See, and I love a croissant. Like if I get chicken salad or something like a light sandwich like that on a croissant,
Best on the croissant.
It's amazing.
Something vegans will never really understand.
They don't get the love.
remember croissants.
They don't get the love. We're going to help you with your mental health on your diet today. But I'm also a croissant guy. But I love those bear claws.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a big donut, and it's called a bear claw, and it's just filled with love and happiness, and closes your arteries.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like it's followed by a stent.
It's definitely it's definitely that. So, all right, it's time for a quick check of the weather. It is hot. All right, that's our entire weather report.
Yeah, that's very accurate, actually.
And that weather report is brought to us by Ben 39 Wine Bar. Discover one of St. Augustine's best kept secrets, Ben 39, tucked inside the St. Augustine Inn at the north end of St. George Street, with over 95 boutique wines, 50 of them rated 90 points or higher by Robert Parker. It's a perfect spot for a romantic date night or relaxing after work to unwind. Sip a glass or bottle. Ooh, sip a glass or bottle.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Yeah, that's not sipping at that point. In a serene courtyard. Is beautiful in there. Courtyard setting with live music Thursday through Sunday, open daily from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just stop by and say, I'll have what Irving's having. And we got these guys coming in tomorrow. Tomorrow night on the Bollock Show to bring in some tastings for us, and we're super excited about that. All right, now it is time for the Hit the Blake's traffic report.
All right, we got traffic.
All right, that's exciting stuff. We have traffic now.
Yes, indeed. So it looks like I-95 is keeping up with its normal pace right now. So, but as always, please be careful out on the roads and don't get too stressed out while driving on it, and definitely don't get any anxiety like my dad has going over the 295 bridge.
Oh,
That's a scary bridge.
I have a bridge phobia, only of bridges that are over top of me, because in my mind.
The suspension bridges.
Yeah, in my mind, I'm going to get trapped if the bridge collapses.
Yeah.
Like I've ever been on a bridge that's collapsed. Never. If it collapses, it's going to trap me underneath. I don't have a problem with any open bridges.
Right.
Because I can.
But it's two different phobias combined in one.
Yeah, exactly.
One is the bridge phobia,
and
the height, which is the most common phobia.
I'm not afraid of heights either.
Yeah. Then maybe it's more.
I've done all kinds of crazy stuff, but I'm afraid of bridges. Blake, why don't you do that trolley read for me?
All right. That Hit the Blake traffic report was brought to you by Old Town Trolley. Climb aboard Old Town Trolley and experience over 500 years of history in the heart of St. Augustine. This fully narrated 90-minute tour features 22 convenient stops and covers more than 100 points of interest, including iconic landmarks such as the Castillo de San Marco, the Fountain of Youth, and Flagler's Historic Hotel. With open-air views and all-day hop-off access, it's the most fun and flexible way to experience the nation's oldest city. Your ticket also includes free admission to the St. Augustine History Museum. And locals, St. Johns County residents ride free with a full fare guest through the Hometown Pass program at hometownpass.com. Old Town Trolley, the best way to see St. Augustine, one stop at a time.
All right. We have to do one quick story and one quick update because Blake will be out at the press conference. The Guana land swap. We talked about it when Commissioner Murphy was in last Friday. Big news coming out of Tallahassee. The Guana land proposal has been withdrawn following such a backlash. So State Representative Kim Kendall, talked to her yesterday. She's super excited that they've withdrawn this, has confirmed that the Upland LLC has officially withdrawn its application for the controversial land swap involving protected conservation land in St. Johns County. The proposal had called for a transfer of 600 acres within the Guana River Wildlife Management Area into private hands in exchange for 3,000 acres throughout the state, along with Florida Wildlife Corridor. The plan sparks intense backlash from national, state, and local leaders, including White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, a Ponte Vedra resident who voiced strong opposition. In a letter, a representative for the Upland LLC notified the Florida Department of Environmental Protection that the application has been pulled. The letter stated there never was any intention to commercialize, develop the land, and claimed the project was misunderstood, saying that the backlash was fueled by misinformation. That's what they said about the whole Anastasia thing too. So it's always misinformation. Oh, you didn't get it right. No, we caught you with your pants down. Local officials say we're prepared to pressure the governor and cabinet, who would have had the final say on the proposal. St. Johns County Commissioner Sarah Arnold spoke out firmly, saying this conservation land is for the residents of this county and this state. The withdrawal marks a win for conservation advocates who push to keep guana in public hands. So congratulations to Representative Kendall, the politicians that were behind this, the county commission, Mayor Rumnell, Mayor Sykes-Klein. All of them will be at the interview today. Blake will be out there live. I'm going to try and make sure I make it out there to that interview, and I believe that's at 10:30 today, and we're going to be live from over there. All right, it is time to get into our amazing guests, and I have all your credentials over here, and if I mess them up, you guys are welcome to just say, Troy, that's not what it is. All right, first off, we have Dr. Todd Broder, MD, board-certified adult and forensic psychiatrist, not psychologist, psychiatrist, co-owner of Florida Center for TMS, medical director, mental health service, UF St. John's at Flagler Hospital. And we also have in studio, prettying up the studio with her beautiful face, Lena Russell, psychiatric nurse practitioner at SMA Healthcare, psychedelic assisted therapy, yoga instructor, and founder of Light Triad, we're not sure which way we're saying that, wellness. So welcome, guys. I appreciate you coming in. It's Mental Health Month. And, first off, tell me the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist.
Sure.
And don't just say because they're better looking.
No, thank you so much for having us. Any opportunity we have to bring mental health to the forefront and bring awareness to mental health is always a great thing. So thank you so much for acknowledging that and having us both in. This is the most common question. What is the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist? Obviously, we work in the same field and hand in hand. Simply put, psychiatry is a subset of medicine. So I went to medical school at University of Florida, finished that, and then subspecialized in psychiatry for a residency. So most psychiatrists will focus on medication management and prescriptions, whereas psychology, and there are varying degrees of psychology, they focus more on the therapy component of mental health.
Okay, thank you. Because I always confuse those. I mean,
they sound similar.
Yeah. So, and Lena, I got to know. It says just the word psychedelic automatically draws your eye in. So, can you tell me a little bit about the psychedelic assisted therapy? Can you give me a brief description of what that is?
Sure. So, I mean, there's a ton of evidence these days to say that psychedelics can really be so beneficial for mental health disorders, for example, like depression, anxiety, treating substance use disorders. So it's a really fast kind of emerging field. And psychedelics really can range from things like psilocybin, MDMA-assisted psychotherapy, and ketamine, although that's not technically a psychedelic. And really, psychedelics have been used for thousands of years by humanity. And it's kind of just about now that the medical model is catching up with that. So, yeah, really, really interesting field.
Okay, and I know you two personally, and I know you have a love for what you do. So I'm going to start with you, Lena, and then Dr. Broder, I'll come back to you. So what drew you into the occupation of mental health? Because it's not an easy occupation. It's not like the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So something had to kind of push you into that. So what kind of drew you into mental health from your personal side?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say probably I was in the army, actually, the British Army, as a medic a few years ago.
Is that what that accent was? I thought it was Alabama.
I'm not a Florida native, no. So, in my time in the army and after the army, I think I, encountered a lot of issues with mental health disorders of others, and to an extent myself after being in the military. And it kind of sparked my interest in mental health overall, and then in psychedelics ultimately.
Kind of attached to it and just stay with it.
Yeah.
Dr. Broder, what about you? I mean, everybody's journeys, everybody kind of ends up at the same spot, but everybody's journey is a little bit different. What drew you into that mental health?
Yeah, it was somewhat sideways for me, Troy. I went into medicine to do oncology, work with cancer patients. It was a childhood experience with cancer personally that drove me in that direction. And I was at University of Florida, and I was doing a rotation up in Jacksonville, and I was working in this shelter inside of it was a clinic inside of a homeless shelter in Jacksonville, the Salzbacher Center. And we had this little
still there. They do amazing work.
Yeah, amazing place. And we had this little minivan, like an old minivan. We were riding around downtown Jacksonville and bringing bagged lunches to chronically mentally ill and patients living with schizophrenia, trying to get them into the clinic. And I just fell in love with it. Fell in love with the art of psychiatry, and particularly with forensics. I started to get very interested in. I started working with a psychiatrist who was doing teenage serial killer work, and I got real interested in the forensic side of things, and I just pulled the trigger and moved in that direction. It was the hardest phone call I ever had to make, when I had to call my parents, who helped me so much through medical school. And I said, "Listen, Mom, Dad, thank you so much for everything you did, but look, I'm not going to be a real doctor. Bye."
You're a real doctor. Yeah. You're a real doctor. I mean, it does say MD beside your name, but I'm sure that was a challenge, because I mean, what you went through, I think it was in high school.
Yes, I was 17 years old.
You're 17 years old when you went through that. I kind of know a little bit about the story, but we talked a little bit about cancer and the trauma that puts on people. But today, compared to you've been a psychiatrist now for over 20 years.
Correct.
Okay. Today, it seems more acceptable to say, "Oh, I'm going to see my psychiatrist or my therapist," even 20 years ago. And when I was a kid, back in the 70s, it was like, you whispered it.
Right.
You didn't even say it. You didn't say it on a format like this. You whispered it. What do you think has allowed that acceptance over the past few decades, where it's like it's expected? Hey, it's okay to have these mental health things. Yeah. So what do you think that change in acceptance has created?
It's been an uphill battle. I think the mental health field has been working very hard to create awareness and parity. I think also social media and access to information has made it much easier to spread the word and for people to communicate about these things. And I think the growing prevalence of psychiatric illnesses, we have tripled our rates of depression since the pandemic. I mean, tripled them. Depression is now the number one cause of disability worldwide. So this really has become a monster that is impacting so many of our lives, either directly or indirectly. So it's been multiple forces combining together to really bring this awareness and be able to have these open conversations.
Yeah. No. I mean, like in my house, we have a neurodivergent house. Okay, I think that's the correct term for right now. I think it changes about every 17 weeks. But I live with 4 neurodivergent people, and I'm supposed to be the neurotypical. I think it's opposite.
It's a matter of perspective.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. And so one of the things that we talked about depression, but anxiety seems to be through the roof right now in our society. What are some of the differences of how, because you guys handle situations a little bit differently. Can you tell me the differences, and Lena, I'm going to start with you on this one, the differences between how you two handle certain situations with your position and with Dr. Broder's position?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think there's actually quite a lot of overlap between how we approach things. And one of the things I really appreciate about Todd is that he doesn't just look at, a condition and then treating it with a medication, and that we, both appreciate the benefits of things like exercise, nutrition, sleep, social connections. There's so many aspects to treating any condition, such as anxiety. So for me, when I, for example, have a new patient who comes in with anxiety, I really kind of like to look at the fundamental cause of that, rather than just saying, okay, you have anxiety and there's a medication for it. So just so many things that can contribute to that. Like I said, diet, exercise, sleep, so many different things, and ultimately there's a lot of different remedies and not just medications.
Yeah. See, I'm not a guy who sleeps.
Yeah,
everybody needs,
I can help you with that. I have a whole sleep tips sheet.
Yeah. Everybody gets like 6 and 7 hours sleep, and I'm like, that seems like.
We'll chat after this.
Yeah.
I'm big on sleep, and sleep is just so fundamental to mental health, physical health. And that's the other thing,
Where were you 30 years ago? When I've never been able to sleep. So
I was 10 years old then, so not in this field.
Okay, now you're being hurtful. So, but Dr. Todd, like an anxiety, how do you see? Obviously, you guys have different personalities. Each individual is going to be different. The approach of, is there a patient that comes to you and you go, okay, you're better suited if you talk to Lena and how she handles it. How do you handle that portion of the anxiety side of it?
So I couldn't agree more with what Lena is saying. Anxiety is a broad word, and it's a series of symptoms, often of other circumstances. Sometimes those are life stressors and life circumstances. Anxiety could be a symptom of another mental health disorder, such as depression. Mm-hmm. Those things can be very linked together. Lena and I work in different settings. So she works in an outpatient setting primarily, often working with chronic and severe mental illness. I do have a subspecialty outpatient clinic where we focus largely on depression, but I also work on an inpatient unit. So I'm often treating patients in a very acute episode, and I'm trying to get that episode stabilized and get them moved out into an outpatient setting. So we have slightly different approaches to things often, but again, a lot of overlap. I also agree that I think we've gotten too much into a culture of, here's your diagnosis, throw a medication at that. And we really need to step back and look at whole mind health and wellness. And honestly, the data on exercise is so profound that it's malpractice not to prescribe it. And too often you don't see clinicians doing that.
Gotcha. Because I mean, that creates a natural dopamine, which kind of balances your body, correct? I mean, just getting outside in the sun even changes a lot of how you feel. All right, I hate to leave us on that, but we got to actually do some of our other activities here. But we're going to come back to you guys if you guys are okay. If you can stay,
absolutely.
If you can stay conscious during this time. Blake, I'm going to let you do the Gas Buddy gas report. Tell us in the comments the gas prices you're seeing out there. I'm not checking the comments today, so that you got Blake checking the comments. Indeed. I know everything's out of whack.
It's surprisingly so. Don't give an autistic person stuff that's out of his control, though.
Yeah, well, you have the list. You have this 100%. I just whacked my microphone. Dr. Broder broke the microphone as soon as he came in. I didn't want to say that on air, but I did.
All right.
Go
All
ahead.
right, here we go. Gas report time. Here we go. So we have the gate on 1900 Mizell Road at 282. The Sunoco at 2199 North Ponce de Leon is at 284. The Circle K at 715 207 is at 285. Shell at 146 King at 287. The Shell at 2350 North Ponce de Leon is at 289. We also have the Sunoco at 450 South Ponce de Leon Boulevard at 289. The Mobile and Circle K at 289 at 800 South Ponce de Leon Boulevard. The Owens at 780 South Ponce de Leon at 289. The Shell at 216 Ponce de Leon at 289. And then the Gate at 4075 at 297.
All right. And that is brought to us by the Chris Lucero bail bonds. Trouble with the law. Call the name St. Augustine has trusted for years, Chris Lucero bail bonds, available 24/7. Their experience and compassionate team works fast to get you and your loved ones out of jail and back home. From paperwork to release, they will make the process simple, discreet, and stress-free. No judgment, just help when you need it the most. When time matters, remember the name and the number. Chris Lucero bail bonds at 904-822-BAIL. That's 904-822-2245. All right, our live music today brought to us by visit staugustine.com. And I'm actually going to jump ahead to our 6 o'clockers because we got a huge list here. Actually, it's not that bad, but I want to get back to our guests. Starting at 6 o'clock at the Oasis, a deck and restaurant, Amy Hendrickson, Bob Patterson, the legends at Oasis. They're at the same place?
Yeah, but it's St. Augustine Songwriters Night.
Oh, it's Songwriters Night. Oh, okay. I was going to say, all these say the same thing, Blake.
Yes, yes, indeed.
All these are at Oasis Deck and Restaurant at 6 o'clock. You got Bob Patterson, David Watt Besley, Michael Jordan, not the hoopster, and those guys are all at Oasis Deck and Restaurant at 6 o'clock. You got Smoking Joe Shower, Ann O'Malley's at 6 o'clock, Vange Durst at Harry's Seafood at 6 o'clock, Zach Haywood at Salt Life Food Shack at 6 o'clock, and then at 7 o'clock at Cortez's Bistro, you have Matt Wilson, and then you got Trivia with Troy, Blake, and Aiden at Gypsy Cab at 7 o'clock. Those guys are amazing. And that is brought to us by Fidus Roofing. When it comes to protecting your home, trust the St. Augustine roofing experts. Fidus Roofing and Construction, voted best of St. Augustine every year since 2012. From emergency repairs to full replacements, Fidus delivers expert shingle and metal roof installation using top-tier materials with GAF lifetime roofing systems and durable aluminum or Galvalume metal roofing, backed by trustworthy warranties and GAF Master Elite certification. Fidus ensures your roof is built to last, and that's 904-355-ROOF.
They do pavers.
And they do gutters. All right. We're back to Dr. Broder and Lena. Now, Dr. Broder, you came to St. Augustine about 15 years ago. When you were here at St. Augustine, can you tell me about the transitions? Because a lot of people are confused about how the transition worked from the one hospital to the other hospital. You were involved. You've been here throughout the entire time. And talk about the program, where it was at when you got here and where it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. When I moved here, St. Augustine was a much smaller town, and Flagler Hospital was a community-run hospital. And it was a wonderful experience. It always has been. The administration has been great. They've really supported the community. And obviously, the town has grown, and we have been busting at the seams. The psychiatric unit is often full and overflowing into the emergency room. So as things have grown, it's required a greater level of infrastructure, and recently University of Florida purchased the hospital. So I think we were all nervous about that. Of the potential suitors, I think it was the best outcome. Mm-hmm. And it's been a nice transition so far. Obviously, any change like that is difficult. We're changing the medical record system in the hospital. That's always painful, reorganizing things. But overall, I think it's a very good change, and University of Florida is going to bring a lot of mental health resources to the area.
Well, I can tell you from, we were very nervous at home again because Flagler was the lead agency for the homeless and the continuum of care. And University of Florida said, yes, when they wrap their arms around that, we're like, yeah, that's the one we want. Yeah. That's the group we want, as you said, in the suitors. But Lena, to get back to you, obviously with your wonderful accent, you're not from here. When did you land in St. Augustine? And tell me about that transition since you've gotten here. You said you were in the Army, but how long have you been here in St. Augustine?
I've been in St. Augustine for about 2 years or so, maybe 2.5 years. And before that, I was down in Ormond Beach working in Daytona, still for SMA Healthcare. And then in America, I've been here for about 8 years this year. Okay. And actually, I've just become a citizen last month.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's
it feels
awesome.
good. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So in trends in the mental health world, and I'm throwing this out to both of you guys so you guys can, trends in the mental health world, do you see a positive trend? Us do negative trend and then a positive trend. What do you see as a negative trend that we need to kind of keep our eyes on and say, let's keep our eyes right there? And then what's a positive trend of let's boost this one up and it can help. So I kind of threw a two-parter at you there. So let's do the negative trend that we really need to keep our eyes on and the positive trend that we can kind of help our loved ones around us, because we talked a little bit about depression there and being there for them. So what's a negative trend and then a positive trend from both of your perspectives?
Go ahead. Took a deep breath. I felt like there was something profound coming.
Sorry, I don't pressure for a really good answer now.
I don't always ask the easiest questions, but it's
this is a great question. What do you think?
Honestly,
negative trend.
What do I think of a negative trend? I think honestly, nutrition, lifestyle, and diet. I think to me, there's again a lot of evidence regarding the gut microbiome and the link between the gut and the brain. And what we eat truly has a significant impact on how we feel. So for me, I'm really keen on education about nutrition. I did a brief little course in nutrition psychiatry and learned a lot about nutrient deficiencies and how that can affect the brain. And how we can really fuel it with what we eat. And I think there's a lot of changes that need to be made with regard to like the standard American diet. Yeah. So that would be a negative trend, I guess, if that answers the question somewhat.
All right. I'm going to go with your negative trend, and then we'll go back to the positive.
Sure.
I would agree with it. I think that's a two-part answer.
Yeah.
One is the clinical side of things, and the other is the business side of things, the business of medicine. Clinically, depression has been climbing. And the number one cause of depression is low-grade chronic stress. Mm-hmm. Look at our lives, right? We are now living in the information era, right? We went through like the Stone Age and the Ice Age. We're now in the information age. We're bombarded with information all the time, and our brains are just not evolved to handle that much influx of information. Our lifestyles are very busy and fast. We don't have enough downtime, and that chronic low-grade stress is leading to increases in depression. I think that's been a very obvious negative trend. At the same time, the business of medicine has become somewhat of a dirty business. Mm-hmm. Insurance companies have made it very difficult for private clinicians like Lena or myself to have our own practices. And myself and my partner, Dr. Lewing, have worked very hard to keep a clinician-owned practice, because what you see happening is businesses and business guys owning and running practices, and sometimes that becomes very money driven, and the focus gets lost with regard to taking care of patients. So I think finding that balance is difficult.
And in my mind, the insurance portion, I was wondering, the way insurance is set up, it's not like they kind of herd you into a certain category, and it might not always be your best location. And I'm glad you touched on that, because in my mind as a non-professional, I could see someone going, oh, my insurance doesn't cover this guy, but I have to go to this guy. I don't like this guy, so I'm just not going to go. So because that's kind of the way insurance is today, and it's an unfortunate thing.
And you have to advocate for yourself, and you need a physician who will advocate for you, because insurance companies don't want to pay for some of the newer treatments for depression, for example, that have less side effects and can be more effective. So somebody has to fight for the patient, and that takes time and energy to do that.
All right, let's go to the positive. What's a positive trend that we need to kind of lean into and say this is starting to really step in the right direction? Because what the practice you guys in is is always going to be a constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Especially the last 10 years. Massive change.
So like, what's a trend right now where you're like, hey, I'm kind of leaning into this one a little bit. So I'd like.
Again, I think it kind of interlinks with the negative side. I think there's there's a lot of political stuff going on right now with changes to dietary guidelines and stuff, and banning certain food dyes, awareness of like chemicals that we're ingesting and toxins, and also the trend in psychedelics, which is seems to be becoming more and more openness about
more acceptable.
Yeah, less like stigma, and I think the more education and knowledge that people have, then the more.
Because everybody's wired a little bit different. So,
and it's not for everybody, that kind of therapy, of course, but
finding that right recipe, I guess, is where it's at.
Yeah.
So what about you, Dr.
So
Broder?
from a treatment perspective and more of a psychopharmacology perspective, we have made a major change in gears over the last couple of years with regard to how we treat depression, and we've been much, much more successful and effective at treating it. Since the 1940s, our theory for treating depression, medication-wise, was serotonin. We have been in a monogamous relationship with serotonin. You've heard of medications like Prozac or Zoloft, but they boost serotonin. And not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, those treatments are very effective for about a third to a half of people. But over the last decade, we've been focusing on a totally different area of the brain, and that is glutamate, a totally new neurotransmitter. And we're using neuromodulation, like transcranial magnetic stimulation, kind of like an MRI machine, sort of, to treat depression. We're using ketamine and derivatives of ketamine that we now think can actually help the brain regrow tissue and make new nerve connections to treat depression much faster than we've ever been able to do it before. And then the world of psychedelics and psilocybin, which is right around the corner. In terms of mainstream medicine, as Lena mentioned, it's been around for centuries in humanity, but we're now finally focusing our attention, mainstream medical use of psilocybin, magic mushrooms, basically, to treat depression. And the results that we're seeing are really quite phenomenal.
And is that, just being the Gen X novice that I am, is that when I'm hearing a little bit of microdosing? Is that similar to what we're talking about?
We're talking about macro dosing.
So macro dosing.
Full doses.
But there is some evidence that microdosing is also beneficial.
Okay.
So microdosing is usually with psilocybin or LSD.
Okay.
And all of this, of course, is not legal in the state of Florida. So when I practice this, it's in Oregon, Colorado, certain areas where it's legal. But it's coming. I'm sure it's coming.
No. I mean, I know some successful people that believe that, okay, this really helps me out in a very high stress jobs.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, it just kind of lets me take a breath and lets my brain focus on what I need to focus on. But you're talking about regenerating, or how does that work with the regeneration of the brain cells that you're talking about?
Years ago, we thought depression was very episodic. You get depressed, you get better, you're back to normal. And we're learning now that's not necessarily true. The longer somebody stays in a depressive state, the harder it is for them to get back to who they were before. And the reason for that is depression appears to be more of a physical or a cellular disease than we thought it was. So when people are under a lot of stress and they're depressed, then the neurons in the brain actually start to die, and we lose structural support in the brain. We can see this. You can see MRIs of chronically depressed brains, and parts of the brains are actually shrinking. We call that pruning, pruning a tree. And when we use medications that target the glutamate system, we're seeing now that we can regrow some of these neurons and make new connections between neurons, and that's arborization or neuroplasticity. And there's been evidence that the adult brain can change and be neuroplastic dating back 25 years now, with research that was done on taxi cab drivers in London. Actually, really, really interesting stuff. But we're really leaning into this concept of, hey, what can we do to really improve the brain from a psychopharmacology perspective? It's fascinating.
And because the U.S. has been at war for over 20 years now, PTSD is a real thing. We have Veterans Village with Home Again. And one of the things that we've seen with our residents, they were living on the street. They kind of, were going from, carrying a bag from here to there, and now they have their own place. But the socialization of them, where they can lean into somebody in like circumstances, has majorly changed, these men and women in how they look at the world. Like, they're standing out front talking to their neighbor who's now one of their best friends. That didn't exist 2 years ago. So the socialization with the depression and being there for your friend, can we talk about, like, just make sure they know you're, as a friend, you can be the number one person that could save this person from a drastic situation. Can you talk about the socialization of depression and the importance of that?
You want to take that one? Has been in the military and had a lot of experience with.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you guys in America really do look after your veterans pretty well, especially comparatively with Britain and other places, I think. So, yeah, I mean, I really agree with you. That's such an important part of life generally, social connections, feeling supported, feeling cared for. Yeah.
I think it's part of the reason we're having so many problems is with all of the technology, we're becoming more socially isolated. We feel more connected because you can pick up your phone and your friends are all there and you feel more connected, but we are more disconnected now than we've ever been. So I can't agree with you more. Having that real bond that a true
conversation, because a lot of, some of these guys weren't having, and women weren't having true conversations. And I think even in like middle schools and high schools, that dynamics changed. Like, you leaned on your buddies in high schools and middle school when I was,
I remember
when I was growing up, and now you lean into your technology. I did a field trip with Blake when Blake was in 8th or 9th grade, and it was a bus full of kids, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so loud. And thinking back of when my trips and stuff were,
everyone's on their phone,
and everyone was on their phone.
I know,
and they weren't even. They're literally sitting beside each other, texting each other, and then they look and they go. I was like, oh, just talk. He's right there. Just talk to him.
And that's the thing. You can be around so many people, but still feel lonely. So I think like true meaningful connection with people who are fully listening and present is
this
really
technology
important.
Hijacks our brains.
Yeah, it sure
our
does.
brains have thousands of years of evolution in these systems that are designed to give us reward for hugging somebody and going out with your friends and having sex and all the normal things that we do to connect. And now this technology has hijacked those primitive pathways and pulled us away. It's
and Blake's brother Ty, the power of a hug, and we Ty and I, we always his body will get a little too overstimulated, and he's pretty much nonverbal, but he's just a lot of love. So we do a 20-second hug, and we probably do a 20-second hug 5 times a day, just to kind of bring the power of a hug is amazing. And people, people just don't. We kind of lost that contact.
We call it a therapeutic hold.
Therapeutic hold.
That's the medical term for the hug.
Okay, therapeutic hold. Yeah. So I'm going to stick with my 20-second hug, but I like the therapeutic hold. But thank you guys so much. We have to do a couple more little pay some bills and go through some comments.
No, I was excited to hear you talk about Fidus Roofing. They're putting a roof on my house right now. Troy Voucher.
They're wonderful people. They really are.
I've been so impressed.
They're wonderful people, James over there, and they've been with us for a long time. So, all right. But thank you guys. We're going to go through some comments. You guys stick around for us for just a little bit more. And here we go. Blake, how do you want to check those comments, man?
All right. So on this amazing Tuesday, I will tear into the tremendous tidings of the sometimes tempestuous fans.
All right. While he's going through those comments, I want to tell you about B&S Signs. Want your business to get noticed and stay that way? Turn to B&S Signs, proudly family-owned and serving St. Augustine for over 50 years. From bold vinyl lettering to towering pylon signs, they specialize in high-quality custom signs built to last. Their expert team handles everything: design, installation, crane service, repairs, and maintenance with fast, responsive service that keeps your sign looking sharp. Make a lasting impression with B&S Signs. Visit bnssigns.com, because when it comes to signs, they do it all. Wonderful people over there. They'll help you with your design. Shauna, she's the design person over there. She's more fun than a bounce house. And Jay, just a wonderful owner over there. All right. The Good Troy, St. Augustine Handy House. Need a custom or prefab portable building that's built to last? Come to St. Augustine Handy House. Proudly owned by Troy Usina Enterprises, serving the community since 1988 with over 70 structures in stock. From sheds to barns to carports to office, you'll find the perfect fit for your needs. Every building comes with free delivery, leveling, and anchoring, plus easy financing options to fit your budget. Visit them at State Road 16, Monday through Saturday. Give them a call at 904-823-9092. St. Augustine Handy House, where quality meets convenience. And that is the Good Troy. Blake, what you got for comments, man?
All right, so I have Wawa at 285, Costco at 271. Thank you to Tim for sending us that. We got BP Lewis Point at 282, and then Iowa City at 278. Kenny, Bobby, Rebecca were all late to the comments today. So we have chocolate glazed donuts or eclairs for Bobby, cherry turnovers for Tim. Lenny, for some reason, yelled shrooms.
Shrooms? I think that was with the psychedelic. I don't think that was for the question of the day.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think he's considering that a pastry.
And then Rebecca said, Amanda, come back.
That's hurtful, Rebecca.
It is. Kenny said, you're doing great, Troy, except not making me any chili lately.
Oh, okay. I got to help him out.
And then Ty gives out the best hugs according to Samantha.
Yes.
And then Rebecca's watching. Did I mention Rebecca's watching?
Yeah. It says it so many times. I don't understand what it's doing that recently.
And then also Bobby had a great question for Dr. Broder. He's asking if psychologists, not psychiatrists, are the ones that give out that write out prescriptions for patients.
No, in the state of Florida, psychologists cannot prescribe.
So it's only psychiatrists that can actually prescribe.
Psychiatrists, psychiatric nurse practitioners, PAs, primary care doctors. The truth is 80% of people with depression and anxiety are treated by their primary care doctor.
Yeah.
So they really see the brunt of it.
Okay. All right. But psychologists cannot.
Correct. They cannot prescribe in the state of Florida. But psychiatric nurse practitioners can prescribe.
Okay. So, all right. It is time now for the Stodem stat. On this day in history, 1863, right in the middle of the old Civil War, Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis patented the blue jeans. I pretty much wear 90% blue jeans, and I just not comfortable in slacks anymore. I used to, for my old job, I had to wear them and stuff like that. But I'm a blue jean guy. and I wear them. How many days do you wear your blue jeans before you? Because they say not to wash them at all.
Oh, I rarely wash my jeans. Like when they can stand up on their own,
yeah,
I'll put them in the
when they
washing
walk
machine.
to you,
Yeah,
and say, "Where are we going today?" That's time to wash them.
Yeah.
So I'm about 5 times of wearing them, and then
well, they just after you wash them, they're just so tight and stiff.
Yeah.
Then it takes a couple of days for them to.
See,
be
and then
right
I
again.
need to go see you because I feel like I'm getting fat. And,
Yeah.
It throws me off. But today is the day, the patent for the blue jeans, and that's when the rivets came into play for the miners. All right, and that Stoneham stat is, all right, I have to point this way.
Wrong way.
I don't know which way to point. I don't know.
Point towards Dr. Todd.
That way? Okay.
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah, you got it.
I never knew that part of the read. All right.
Pointing dyslexia.
That's Totem Stats brought to us by St. Augustine's Pizzas downtown St. Augustine at the corner of Ryberry and MLK. Get your slices today. They are amazing over there. Might have to stop in there and see Augie today. Blake, you got any plugs?
No, just to basically enjoy trivia.
All right. I do have one plug. Blake's going to be live at the press conference at Guana around 10:30. So if you guys are around and you want to catch some of that, see what our politicians have to say about what's going on in our city. We have trivia tonight and we have bollocks tonight. So join us at 5 o'clock. Thank you, Lena and Dr. Broder. We appreciate you guys coming in. Wonderful interview. Appreciate it. And we'll see you later today.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much.